When ndimadekwana South Africa chipembe ndibatanganedze to the South African of the Year Daily Show Nendifudisani Ravele. We're getting up close and personal with our nominees as we count down to SATY 2016 happening on the 25th of November at the Ticket Pro Dome. Our nominees are people who are doing extraordinary things in their different avenues of work, and today is no different. I'm sitting down with Personality of the Year nominee, a man who really needs no introduction. He's been in the industry for over 20 years. That's 2 decades, Bafit. And you're just a man that we just love. We love to love. And you really don't need an introduction. Robert Marawa, do you?
Of course, Lusani, I do. I mean, you just kind of like went on television and said 2 decades, and I'm trying to calculate and saying, no, your mathematics. I think we need to...
My mathematics is not off.
We need to revisit.
Let's think about it. 1992, SABC 1, Simunye. Oh, we are one. Count it, my brother. It's been over 20 years. But it's a good thing, Robert. As I was saying to you, you look great for a person that's been in this industry for over 2 decades. Looking like you came in yesterday, it's a compliment.
You are so kind. Hey? I should have you walk around with me wherever I go. Be like, yo, just say something
I'll be
nice.
like a puppy in your pocket. It's okay. It's all good.
Cool.
Robert, over 20 years, but as a young boy growing up in Fred and KZN, law was where you were headed. Law was what you did. Leaving law to follow your true passion. Talk to me about that.
Well, I guess law at the time was the true passion because that's what I wanted to do. And you know, like back in the days, you really wanted to become a doctor, a lawyer, teacher, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, of course we did. We had to push it that way. And that's literally what brought me to Johannesburg. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here if I didn't have that passion to go and study law, and that happened to be at Wits. But embedded in there was just that dying need. You know, when you're inquisitive and you see television happen and you're seeing sports happen and you're looking at anchors that you one day wish you could actually be in that seat or be in their shoes. And that was the driving force really for me now to almost juxtaposition these two that I wanted to do and then focus on one. And dare say broadcasting was the one that won the battle.
But as you start in the broadcasting industry, you know, as a Jimmy comes to Joburg, essentially, there's so many things that you're faced with, and a lot of people are blinded by the lights. What were some of the challenges that you experienced early on in your career that today you look back and you're like, yeah, ne, ampur.
No, you're absolutely right. But the nice thing for me was that I knew nobody in the industry. You know, I was just like a student from Wits to the SABC type story. So there was no, hey, Ngazos Banbani who's inside, and hey, you know, that person's going to hook me up. It was literally what you brought forward, what you delivered on the day. But then there were so many challenges because with SABC 1, and when they did relaunch the channels, they really propelled us. I mean, they had a marketing wing that made sure that everybody around the country knew who we were. And you know, that whole brand of Simunye was just so powerful, and we did all of these monthly promos where we shot them, and it was like, you know, so we just have to be like different characters all the time. There you had Dixie with his little dreadlocks or whatever it was that he had, but he had like some funky hair, and we had like a whole group of very enthusiastic people. So in a way, for South African television, that was like a first batch of, especially within the black community, of your so-called celebs that were really pushed. And, you know, the next thing you'd be on the cover of Pace or Drum magazine or any of these magazines that were out at the time.
Robert Marawa.
Remember, there was no social media. So you would go to, whether it's Carlton Center or Sandton or Rosebank, and literally, you know, you'd walk around with your cap down to here. People was just like, you know, there's this person from Simunye. So it was a big deal, you know, it really was.
My favorite from those Simunye promos has to be, I think it was a I'm a Barbie Girl one. And you guys were wearing the pink shorts, and then you were doing like a handstand thing on top of each other. I remember these things.
So it was never me.
Fast forward so many years later, and the man has a brilliant show on radio, which I myself, as not so much of a sports fundi, but I get it and I can listen to it and thoroughly enjoy it for that hour and a half. And also, of course, having a successful television show as well on SuperSport. A day in the life of this man, there is never a dull moment. We sent our cameras to spend some time with him.
Русская народная песня «Степь да степь кругом».
Well, if I had to describe who Robert is, it's actually a question I've never thought of. Just this human being that landed in Johannesburg out of circumstances that had to do with education and followed his passion, literally followed my passion to be where I am today. Trying to follow your passion is a case of how do you identify your passion. So my passion, I literally identified it while I was still trying to pursue another potential passion, which was law. Now, when in the midst of a journey, you find that your other journey is actually the one that you want to pursue more than anything else. And that is how broadcasting and myself found each other. It was literally a cross swords between trying to be the lawyer that I wanted to be and also becoming the broadcaster that I wanted to be, but also more importantly, not just a broadcaster, a sportscaster, which is where I've landed up now. Because I mean, the one thing I'll tell you is that part of the reason why I kept going and part of the reason of why I was motivated was not because of people praising the work that I was doing. It was all the negativity. It was all those columns that I would read in the Sowetan where people were so-called experts in TV and radio that would knock me and knock my work. But then you find out later on in life that they actually were people that auditioned to go and do what I'm doing, and who were bitter people that wanted that job and they never got that job. So now that they found comfort in using the might of the pen to try and bring you down, for me that was always like, I would look at those articles and I would say, this is actually inspiring. The fact that this guy thinks I'm useless, I'm actually going to show maybe him and his relatives and his kids and his family that that isn't the case. I don't know if I'm powerful. I've got a powerful platform that I'm on. It's a platform that obviously I've been a part of growing. You know, people have relied now on the show as a leader, as information. So they look at us as almost the go-to at 6 o'clock when it comes to sport. So that is power. That is power that is vested upon you by people that listen to the show. When you look at the audience ratings and you're saying, wow, okay, so many people are listening, and you look at the advertisers that plow money into that slot, and the fact that the slot itself is sponsored by one of the major cell phone networks, and you start thinking, this couldn't have just been by luck, you know, because not every show just gets a sponsorship like that. So there's a sense of responsibility that comes with that power. I think I'm just motivated by the sight of people that are happy. I'm motivated by family. I think family is the biggest thing for me. I'm just still blessed that God has kept everyone in our family, including mother and father. You know, dad's in his 80s, mom's in their late 70s, and they're still there. So for me, they're still a source of inspiration. Two words that describe me: ambitious and understanding.
Sitting down with Personality of the Year nominee at SATY 2016, Mr. Robert Marawa. Robza, what's the nickname? What do people call you? Prarob, Uncle Rob, Malume.
What for?
Am I aging you?
What for? And you like doing that, no?
No, it's just
When's your birthday?
23 January, it's fresh, 29 spring chicken, and I'm heading to 29, not 29 yet, yeah, what?
Calendar running out.
But I can call you Malume or Prarob. Which one do you prefer?
No, Malume was a name of an artist. So I'm not an artist. Like there was
You're not trying
literally
to take that over.
No. Madluputu was much better.
Madluputu, the nickname of
Yes.
all nicknames. Working in the industry that you do, you know, you face certain challenges throughout your career. I mean, there was the big story once upon a time when you had left Metro FM due to the issues that were there, and then you came back. What did that teach you about valuing yourself as an artist and as a person who values what it is that they do and have to offer?
The thing is, you've got to stick to your guns. You know, a lot of people take the industry lightly. Maybe they take it as something where you want to be here today, get to be on the cover, get to be spoken about, and then you disappear. Whereas if you focused on broadcasting, and if broadcasting is part of your DNA, it's a job. You know, people always say, oh, tell me, so besides radio and TV, what else do you do? You know, it's like, oh, okay. I can go to Wimpy and ask the guy who's a chef or frying the chips and like, oh, besides, what do you do? You know, you can't go and insult Wolf Blitzer and CNN and ask him what else he does, or before then Larry King or Anderson Cooper. That is their job. I mean, it's a skilled job. It's a specialized job. So if you look at it that way, then that will take you far. So that has been always my approach, is that I'm not just here for the fame or the here and now. And that's why I keep so far away from, you know, the glitz and the glam and the red carpets and so on, because for me it's about the longevity. For me it's about making sure that people look at this as a career choice. Yes, I wanted to be a lawyer, but this is where I ended up. Now, how do I make that work? And work not only for me, but for other kids that also want to become sports anchors, or they want to become news anchors, because those are your specialist fields.
If you'd like to vote for Robert Marawa as this year's Personality of the Year, SMS Purse 5, am I correct? Yes, I am, to 43043, or you can email Purse 5 to satyvoting@nn7.com. We had an opportunity to sit down with some of Robert's teachers from back in the day. One of them was from Little Flower Primary School, Mrs. Smith.
Yo.
And we also spoke to a friend of yours, Ustembi, so this is what they both had to say.
High white walls with lots of green trim.
I've known him since 1980-81, when we met at a boarding school in Ishawa called Little Flower. We went there. I came there a year earlier, in 1918. He came the following year. I think I came there I was in grade 3, he must have been in grade 2. And that's how we met, and we've been in each other's lives.
I taught him in grade 7, that was standard 5. So I knew him quite well. A very good child, very polite, no nonsense, didn't give trouble.
He's a very quiet guy, eh? He's a very quiet guy, he's very shy. I know people don't say that, but even currently now, off the set and away from people, he's more comfortable with people that he knows for a long time. He doesn't make friends easily.
He was very popular amongst the boys, led the boys to a certain extent, and very, very active with soccer. Unfortunately, the sisters are not here, because they would have been able to tell you more. And Sister Elizabeth, who looked after him back then, is now late also.
I've never seen someone who works as hard and researches as hard as he does. It doesn't matter if he's, let's say, Children Pirates, let's say they played 2 weeks ago and they're playing now. He will research as though he's never seen them play. That is why it's so good, because information, and he works hard. And that is why he's always, I think there was one time where, a couple of years ago, he came to the studio unprepared, and one of the soccer chairmen actually took him to task because he wasn't prepared. As soon as he came out of the studio, without fear and favor, he said, this will never happen to me again, you know. So he's good at what he does, you know, because he prepares. And he respects his job, and he respects the benefits that come with the jobs and the challenges that come with it, yeah.
When he used to host the soccer, and he had that very, I think everybody knows, I can't even remember the word he would use at the end of his broadcast. And wow, it was a thing. Everybody was like, wow, did you see Robert Marawa's on TV? So it was quite a thing for us to see our child on TV. He was one of the first of our children to really be on TV. But since then, we have quite a few of them. But Robert was like our first. We are very proud of him.
the shock on your face that we found Mrs. Smith. Yeah, one with some detective like, hi.
No, I'm actually scared. I'm just scared how powerful your scorpion. I thought I had like the biggest scorpions in the country, but then clearly you guys have taken over. Hey?
Timbile mentioned something about you take time to make friends, or you don't make friends easily. Would you say that's a defense mechanism for you because of the industry that you're in, or is it just how you've always been?
I think you become calculated in a lot of ways, where you know you don't want to be that person. You know, as you said, Prasmanbani, who's like, "Yo, fill up the table and let's let's go and have a good time." So you become a little bit more calculating in terms of who you surround yourself with. Then you mentioned the radio talk show. You get involved in so many different things that either people are not going to like. You say things because it's a talk show that calls things the way that it is.
Yeah.
And you find that, okay, maybe the rugby people at Saru actually don't like you now because you've said a lot of things that they don't like. The people in football, the people in hockey, the people wherever. And, you know, there have been times where a person has had those death threats when it came to actually what was said on the show. You know, I've had to change the so-called personalized number plates that I had back in the days because people now were starting to track you home. You had to change your route home.
You are associated with soccer in this country. Like when you mentioned Robert Marawa, I'm like, yes, Thursday Night Live, yeah, that one, I see him. Robert Marawa, OA3 Sports Center, yes, it's soccer. But how have you managed to not typecast yourself? Because a lot of people would have just remained in one sport that is very comfortable for them, but listening to your show, and as a listener, I have an appreciation of the wide variety of sporting codes that you're able to speak on, and expertly so.
It was always going to be dangerous for me to become a football person 100%, you know, because if you are a sportscaster, that's what you are. I mean, I've done Commonwealth Games, I've been to Melbourne, you know, been to Manchester, I've covered Commonwealth Games, done Olympic Games, where it's multi-codes. So you got to, one minute you find yourself, you're covering lawn bowls. So you got to know the discipline about lawn bowls. From lawn bowls, you got to do gymnastics. So you got to know what the disciplines are, or you're doing synchronized diving and so on, or synchronized swimming and diving and all of these things. So you got to know it and in a way carry it forward in such a manner that whatever you're presenting, somebody who knows the sport better than you can say, oh, okay, he's either done his research or has got a passion for that sport. And I never wanted to become like pigeonholed into football. Football, yes, in the main, I would say. But then there's multiple sports that I do. I mean, I played rugby.
Nyan?
I played basketball at school.
Basketball?
Yeah.
For real?
I played Natal Midlands, man. What's your story?
Okay, well, excuse us, National Figu 8 team, and that was about it. I want us at national level, Mara. I sees you.
It's okay.
I sees you. A man who does so well in all that he touches, and we certainly do love him for it. A national icon, if I may say so myself. We listen to him every night on Metro FM, and there is an integral team player that is a part of this team.
Robert and I started working together. I think it was back in 2006. I was still an intern at SABC Sport when I heard that Robert Marawa's producer was leaving. So I had to like try and find out if I qualify or if I would be able to get an opportunity to work with Rob. At first, he was doing Soccer Zone, so he was always on TV. So for me, it was like, oh wow, I'll be working with this huge celebrity, and I didn't even know what to expect from him until I got to know who Robert was and how he likes things done. And then from there, him and I just clicked. He guided me from then up until now, and we still have a wonderful working relationship. Basically, what Robert and I have established from the get-go is communication. We decided that, okay, we need to speak from morning until the show comes together. So him and I speak like the whole day, and then when we have challenges, because I will be able to say to him, okay, Robert, this is what I think we need to look at today and so on, and then we discuss it, and then we have a show that we put together. Then you'll find that maybe come 4:30, whoever it is will decide that I'm not coming in, and now we need to come up with a plan B. Sometimes it's not even 4:30. Like you'll find we're here 5 to 6 and people just cancel. And now at that time, we're supposed to have a show going on, and we need to come up with a plan B, like here and there, 5 minutes before we go on air. So those are some of the huge challenges that we come across, but we manage as a team, because he will come up with ideas, I'll come up with ideas, and then we just sort them out just like that. Robert is one of the professional people that I've ever come across, and he is down to earth. He's like sense of humor. Amazing, out of this world. Like he's one of those people where you can say anything to him, you can relate to him, he's easily to relate to. So I don't know, you can't describe him in 2 words. Like he's just one of those people.
Tato being a person that you work very closely with and a new entrant into the industry then, you know, when she came for the audition for Thursday Night Live, but the importance to you of grooming young talent who will essentially take over from where you left off, what's that importance for you?
Well, the importance is what you see, and I'm equally very proud when I see her hosting her own show now on a Friday. There's the end of the show, and she's the host. You know, it reminds me of the time when she came in rushing, she was late, we were about to leave the studio, so that, you know, all the auditions were done. And, you know, she came in all sweaty and fumbling around. But just her grasp on sport, her grasp on what she needed to do was enough to say, okay, we've seen everybody, they came in, they were dolled up, they looked pretty and stuff, which is great. But this is what we're looking for, you know. So it was a case of giving the 2 ladies a chance initially, and then it was then trimmed down to 1 person. And I kind of do that for a lot of other people that are in this space right now. I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, you know. So it's just a case of I've never been one to hold back. If I see that you're passionate about something and you've shown me enough dedication towards it, I will move trees and anything to make sure that you get into that space.
This is the South African of the Year Daily Show, so we want to know what your general knowledge, well, not know, we rather want to gauge what your general knowledge on South Africa is. Are you ready? Series of 5 questions, and we see how you do. And they're not necessarily in sports, so please don't think you're just going to sail through this. You're just like, nah, whatever, I got this.
Not at all. I'm going to get 0 out of 5. So.
Well, okay, question 1. You're going to get this one. If you get this one wrong, then I don't know. What is the name of Bafana Bafana's coach?
Which one?
Yo, Baninganti.
Okay. Ephraim Mashab.
That is correct. Otherwise known as Shakes, for those of you that are like Ephraim Kimang. It's the same person, guys. Question number 2. What is the name of the group that has won 3 Grammys, and they are from a small town? Well, they're named after a small town in northern KZN.
Ladysmith, Black Mambazo.
2 out of 2. Which is SA's judicial city?
It's got to be Bloem.
That is correct. Question number 4. What is the nickname given to the most complete skull of an Australopithecus ever found in South Africa? The one that was found there in, what's it called up there, where all the excavations happened.
Getting excited. I was just about to ask you to repeat the name.
No, there by Sterkfontein Caves. That one, Australopithecus. What is the short name?
No, this one is
the original. Oh, Mrs. Somebody.
Okay.
No, yes, no. Mrs. Plays. Okay, 3 out of 4. Final question. What is the highest mountain peak in the country? The peak. A1. As for range, because I feel like you're going to tell me the range.
What, Drakensberg?
Yes, you're going to say Drakensberg. No, Drakensberg. It's found in the Drakensberg, but that's a whole range. The highest peak is Mafadi. Now you know, but it's in the Drakensberg.
So just because you went there for a weekend, now we must all know
Fam,
these
I haven't
things.
even been there. I've just read it in my script. This is how I feel when I listen to your show every night. I'm just like, whoa, I never knew that.
Yeah, but at least 3 out of 5. Eh? Not too
Not bad at all.
Eh?
Robert Marawa, the brand, where to from now?
I've always tried to keep what I'm doing next close to my chest, you know, because it's almost like, why are you, you know? But it's got to do with broadcasting. It might be slightly more than just within the country. So we almost there. We kind of almost there.
New York, perhaps?
But we'll figure it out.
Are you going to New York when you say out of the country?
Out of the country could be Swaziland.
You know I'm saying New York, right?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Mr. Marawa, it's been such a pleasure sitting down with you. Are you smiling because you're like, ha, I'm purang tholile, but no, you never ketile.
No, this is ANN 7. You know?
We're keeping it serious and together.
Yeah.
Well, on that note then, as we're wrapping up on this serious interview, you're nominated in a category with other people who are doing phenomenal things in their different walks of life, you know, from Somizi Mhlongo to Bonang Mateba, Jay Anstey, Bobby van Jaarsveld, Tato Mulamo. I mean, it's a category that you look at and you're like, wow, personality of the year. If it were not you, who does the award go to and why?
Somizi's come in, and that's the funny thing is that Somizi used to be on like Abo Sarafina, Mongeningema's videos back in the day. And Somizi is relevant in 2016, you know. So for me, that would earn a vote simply because it is not easy to sustain a career for that long.
So true.
You know, and that is longer than I have been in the industry. I got to go consult him and ask him,
how you doing
how
it, brother?
You do it, you know? So that in 2058,
we're still talking about Robert Marawa.
Like,
he's still a thing.
You know, I'll be doing my own idols.
You're going to be Uncle Bay by then, you know that, right? A parting shot, Robert. A lot of people watching you aspire to be who you are, to be in your shoes, and young people are crying for this entertainment industry to be opened up. Your words of advice, or what is that one thing you think they should all heed?
It's easy to do hashtags. People wake up and they do hashtag open up the industry. What are you opening up? Why aren't you working hard? Why aren't you trying to get into the industry? This is no relay where you pass on the baton, but you can always prepare people to be in the industry. So it's almost like, okay, you've been there now 7 years, now make way, I'm coming in. There's nowhere in the world that happens. You know, so people should also realize in this country, as much as it's become fashionable for people to be in the spotlight, in the limelight, that it's not like a revolving door where all of a sudden you feel you want to be in it. Now you must ask other people to shift out. Work hard. If you take it seriously, you will be recognized. If you work seriously, you will ascend to a position that really you yourself would never have imagined. So I just think that, you know, it's a beautiful hashtag, but it means for me absolutely nothing. People must work hard.
Right now, you heard it from the man himself, Mr. Robert Marawa, Personality of the Year nominee. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the nomination. And we'll see you on our red carpet, right? I know you don't like red carpets, but we'll see you on ours. Kari 25. Please.
It's a done deal.
I'm making a mistake. Amanda, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this show has left you entertained, educated, as well as inspired. We'll be sitting down yet again with another SATY 2016 nominee. That's all we've got for tonight.